Hey, what's up? What's up? How you doing? Now, today, you know, I get very annoyed at how often I hear the Bible misquoted. These Bible stories they're very short and simple. So today I want to read to you the story of Adam and Eve. Matter of fact, we're going to start at Genesis 3. Actually, see, it's intertwined. We're going to have to actually start in chapter 2. We got to read the Bible, people. We can't say just because the Bible has been taken out of context or the Bible has been whitewashed or, that's all can be true. That's even more of a reason to read it, to understand it, what it is. That's not a reason to discard it, because it must have power to it. It's something about it. If you want to hide something from an ignorant people, with all respect, you put it in a book. You put it in fine print. Any teacher, preacher, anyone who refers to the fruit in the Garden of Eden as an apple is under the influence of Greek mythology. They have not read the story as you're about to hear it. Now, the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. That is what it says about the serpent. The word cunning is used. Now, originally, if you look up in the King James Version of the Bible, you'll see that the word subtil was used to describe the serpent. But it was chosen to change the word subtil, not to subtle, but to cunning, which demonizes, or it puts your mind in the set that the serpent is the opposition. But what you don't understand, based off of the history that has been washed out, the reason why and what has been hidden is the African origins, the African nature of the Bible. That knowledge has been hidden. So this is the reason why it says it's even more important that we look into it, but we look into it from an independent mind and outside of the mind frame of the controlled institution in which tells us the narrative. We are people who refer to the indigenous people of this land as Indians, knowing that this is not India. India is 8,000 miles on the other side of the earth. And yet, in tradition of those who were ignorant, who had captured us, with all respect, either us or our land, they didn't know where they were. With all respect, this is 2023 to them. And we live here on this planet Earth knowing that our descendants, and we descend from ancestry that goes long before that. This is the reason why Genesis 2:24 says, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. The mother and the father. I said that to say to you is that there's always a male or female in the combination that conceives life. You come from your mother and your father. You know that to be a true, factual reality. And you also know that they came from a mother and a father who you call your grandparents. And you know, based off of your own rational mind, that no one enters this planet Earth outside of that matrix. That is the nature of mankind. And those numbers go all the way back to 2. And those 2 go back to 1. And this is the reason why it says, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. If we were to fast forward to Matthew's and listen to the teacher, the rabbi, the Messiah, the messenger, in verse 4, when he answered the Pharisees and said to them, have you not read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female? He's quoting Genesis 1:27. We're going to go to that now. And said, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So he just quoted what we read in Genesis 2:24. And remember, he said, first thing he said is, have you not read? Which means that Jesus, the teacher, the Messiah, the Redeemer, right? He's expected that you have read this. The only way that you can be led by Christ is by reading his teachings. And his teachings, in order to understand his teachings, you must understand the Genesis. So then they are no longer 2, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man separate. As the Lord did in Genesis 3:14. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. So this is the reason why after chapter 3, if you look at chapter 4, the Lord is operating alone without God. He's no longer walking with God because the Lord is a man who was inspired by God. In Genesis 2 and Genesis 3. But the quote from Christ that we just read in Matthew's 19:4, if you still follow me, is a direct quote from Genesis 1:27 when it says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. And in this verse, the word created is used 3 times because God brings things into existence. So created creates a pattern, a trilogy or a trinity, which is these things affirm that this is a point that's being made, that God, the Spirit of God, created male and female in the same verse in the beginning, like Christ just said, in the beginning. Now, Christ used the word made them male and female because if you look at Genesis, at the end of the true ending of Genesis 1, which is Genesis 2, verses 3, when God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made. So it's being distinguished here that there's a difference between created and made. Now, when you get into Genesis 2 verses 7, because the Lord God had not caused it to rain on the earth, and there was no man to till the ground, but a mist went up from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into him his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. Now, this is a man with purpose. This is a man inspired. But this is a man who was formed as opposed to created. This is something that people overlook time and time again in the story of Adam and Eve. That Adam is actually formed. He is a domesticated man. He is a man who has been taken from his roots and reconfigured, like a sheep is made from a mouflon, like a dog is made from a wolf, which stems from Mesopotamian knowledge, the original sheep. If you look up where was the domestication of sheep originated, it will tell you in the region of Iran in Mesopotamia about 10 to 11,000 years ago. So not only does that timestamp the scriptures, because in the psychology of the writer, domesticated creatures existed, which tells us that we are in the second millennium BC, which is confirmed time and time again, because in the description of the river, which is the Nile River, but because it is African, the Nile River is not disclosed. So it says, now a river, in verse 10, went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it parted, it became 4 river heads. The name of the first is Pishon, is the one which encompasses the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is good, right? So it encompasses the whole land of Havilah. Havilah is in the north, where we were today would identify as Egypt, near Egypt. And there's many ways to prove that. But to get on with the point, they are found gold. Gold is the first thing that they found. This is something of value to whoever this individual is. And they confirmed it, that the gold was good. So that means that this is very important. This is a highlight, the gold. How many times we gotta say? And good is related because of the G-O-O-D, the G-O-L-D, and G-O-D. Gold has always been associated with the gods. And the gold of the land is good. Bdellium and onyx stone are there. These are minerals which are rare, that can only be found in specific locations on the planet Earth. Onyx stone, which is used to ward off evil spirits, specifically in war. And bdellium, which is like myrrh. It's a rare resin that can be cultivated from a crop in a very specific region of the world, which points to Ethiopia. The onyx stone, the bdellium, and the gold points to one region. 3 confirmations of an area. And to even give you more confirmation, the Bible is really going to literally spell it out for you, where it says the name of the second river is Gihon. It is the one which encompasses the whole land of Cush. So if you're traveling the Nile River and you going through Havilah, aka near Egypt, and you're flowing down the Nile River, you're going to come into the land of Cush. The name of the third river is Hiddekel, which is spelled H-I-D-D-E, hidden, to hide, K-E-L, hidden and hide. It is the one which goes toward the east of Assyria. So the first 2 rivers encompasses the lands of Cush, encompasses the land of Havilah, to encompass through these lands. But this third river